Going fast, standing still. It's a phrase so overused that I can't help roll my eyes every time I hear it. And yet, looking at this Audi S5 Sportback, I can't help but think, yes, indeed, it does look really fast standing still. In fact, it looks so fast that Audi hasn't given it any fancy pants name like Azure this or Regal that or Sublime this or Magnetic that. It's just called Turbo Blue. They're not beating around the bush, are they? In fact, neither will I. I'm also going to spool my turbos now and tell you what the fuss is all about. So the S5 Sportback has been around in the same shape for many years now. However, cosmetic changes for 2021 have really livened things up. So the showstopper is this big grille in front. In fact, it's a really good lesson in how to do big grills well. So now it has this black honeycomb pattern with silver inserts. The horizontal slats are gone now. You also get these brushed aluminum finish blade shrouds around the air vents. And in terms of the headlamp cluster, you get a matrix LED adaptive cluster with dynamic turn signals, you know, the kinds that Audi pioneered. What you can also get as an option is an all black package. So you'll get these chrome elements deleted and these 4 aluminum elements deleted. So that'll be an all black affair, but that remains an option. Fastback style never gets sold, but when you view the Sportback from the profile, the real heroes are these 19-inch rims. So now they replace the 18-inch rims from the previous generation. What they also get is really fat rubber, by the way. So it's running 255 section low profile tires. So the sidewall height is just 35 mm. So that's a good statement of intent, just not on Gurgaon roads. These are roads where you bring good wheels to get a good beating and get bent out of shape permanently. But bickering aside, I really like the profile, and there's a strong shoulder line that comes right across from the front fender to the rear, and it blends the shape really beautifully. And like I said, this fastback shape really doesn't get old. Now in its brochure, Audi says, and I quote, "A large rear spoiler accentuates the car's aesthetics even further." So you come around looking for a large spoiler, and what you find is this, a little lip spoiler. But for what it's worth, it balances the car's look really well. This fastback shape gets really nicely balanced out by this heightened lip. And that combined with the sleek LED tail lamps, the quad pipes, the diffuser, it all comes together to make this one of the best looking behinds in the business. So the inside suddenly doesn't feel very turbo. In fact, it feels very understated compared to what you see outside. It's almost like the car you got inside is not the same one that is there on the outside. And while this horizontal design has now become a little dated, it is a generation old, but the quality is of a very high order. So you get this aluminum inlay in the dashboard as well as the door pads, which can be optioned in black as well. But I think this scheme works just fine. In fact, too much black makes Jack a dull boy. Now, in terms of upholstery, the seats get a mixed bag of Alcantara and leather, and the door pads also get the Alcantara upholstery. So I think that might be a symbolic gesture between the sedate A5 and the more monstrous RS5, where leather is supposed to represent more luxury, Alcantara more speed. So it is a good amalgamation in terms of concept. The steering is the flat bottom type. It's wrapped really nicely, feels very good to hold, and it gets all the buttons and functions that you expect from a steering in an expensive car. The paddle shifters are mounted on the wheel, not on the stalk, so that might just be a little bit of a concern if you're driving enthusiastically, but otherwise the steering feels really lovely. Now the big highlight on the inside is this 10.1-inch multimedia interface display. So Audi says it's 10 times faster, but honestly, my fingers can't do the math, but it feels pretty quick to me. It's crisp, it's clear, it gets Android Auto, Apple CarPlay navigation, which can be routed to the Audi virtual cockpit as well. Overall, it's really nice to use. It pairs fast. Nothing to complain. In fact, it also replaces that rotary knob now, so you don't get the rotary knob anymore. You just get a touch interface. The good thing is that the climate control switches and the fan speed, etc., all remain physical buttons, and that's not a touch screen, so that's a good thing. You don't have to take your eyes off the road while setting temperature, etc. But the screen overall is really good to use. In terms of driver comfort, you get a lot of adjustability for the front seats. In fact, you get 4 levels of adjustability just for the lumbar support. While you get a memory function for the seat as well, my only gripe with it is that the function is only for the driver side and not for the passenger side. But clearly in terms of driver comfort, the car is designed to carry you over long distances quite comfortably. So talking about the space at the rear, I've adjusted the driver's seat to my driving position, but a little less relaxed driving position. So for context, I'm 6 feet 2 inches tall, but I have ample of knee room. There's plenty of space to tuck my feet under the chair as well. In terms of thigh support, if you're tall, there might not be adequate thigh support. But if you're not very tall, it's okay. But the seat recline angle is actually pretty good. My only real point of concern though is the head space because of the fastback shape and the low roofline. So for someone as tall as me, now my hair is brushing the headliner a little bit, and that could be a hairy moment or a neck twist if you go over a bad bump or something. But however, for most people, it should be all right. Also, the color scheme is such that it doesn't make the cabin feel very airy, so it's easy to get claustrophobic in the back. But mostly it should be all right for short jaunts. What I really also like is the armrest here. So it's pretty wide, it's easy to comfortably keep your elbow rested, and the cup holders open quite snazzily, so that works really nicely here. Overall, the seat is comfortable, and if you're not as tall as me, you shouldn't have any problem being here. One of the other big highlights on the inside is the optional Bang & Olufsen 19 speaker system, so you get a 3D surround sound. Let's take a look at how it sounds. So you got really good sound separation, the bass is really nice, and overall the sound clarity and volume is really good. However, that's not the sound we're interested in. The sound that we're really interested in is the V6 in the hood. So let's take a look at that. So this unit is making 354 HP of max power between 5400 to 6400 RPM and 500 Newton meters of torque from 1370 to 4500 RPM. It comes paired with a familiar 8-speed torque converter gearbox. On punching the starter, the engine comes alive with a mild roar before settling into an idle. You get 5 driving modes: auto, efficiency, comfort, dynamic and individual, which can be accessed either through the touchscreen or physical buttons placed below the HVAC controls. Efficiency mode keeps things quite sedate. The throttle response and the gearbox are quite lazy. In fact, when you pin the accelerator, it stays in the same gear, allowing the torque wave to maintain speeds. In comfort mode though, the gearbox is more sensitive to changes in throttle position, so at part throttle it upshifts at around 2000 RPM and downshifts follow a moment's hesitation when you pin the throttle. In this mode, the steering is also fairly relaxed and not absolutely direct. The ability of this car only really comes through in dynamic mode. The exhaust note gets louder, the throttle is more sensitive to inputs, and the gearbox holds the gears much longer. Even the suspension feels more taut despite this particular car not being spec'd out with the optional adaptive dampers. In dynamic mode, the steering also feels more alive. But while it does get direct and placing the car accurately is not a problem, the steering is lacking in feel, so you don't really know what the tires are up to, and that dulls the experience a little bit. One of the key highlights of the driving experience is the engine note from the V6. It has this nice throaty growl, and while it never gets really loud, it's enough to keep you entertained. In fact, even in the slightly milder driving modes like efficiency and comfort, the engine note sounds really good and the level of engagement is very high. Now in terms of power delivery, you do feel a turbo kick lower down the rev range at around 1400 RPM, but beyond that it's linear right to the red line, and just when it upshifts, you hear a little grunt from the engine. Now transmission works really well as well, so it's a 8-speed Tiptronic unit, it's a torque converter, but the gear shifts are seamless, you don't get any of that head nod, it's very smooth, and downshifts in dynamic mode are also really quick. So in terms of numbers, 0 to 100 comes up in 4.8 seconds, and it will go on to hit a top speed of 250 kilometers per hour. The handling character of the car is defined mainly by the quattro all-wheel drive. So it gets a self-locking differential that splits the torque in a 40/60 ratio between the front and the rear wheels. So the handling of the car is always a little rear biased. So here I am approaching a corner at speed, on the brakes, turn in, and the moment I see an exit, I step on it and the rear tucks in really nicely. So it's really well balanced. In fact, a big thumbs up for the Bridgestone Potenza tires as well. They offer enormous amounts of grip. In fact, to make the car lose traction, you have to work very, very hard. I have yet to hear a squeal or a chirrup from the tires, except maybe once or twice, but like I said, you have to work really hard to do that. Overall, it's a car that is very easy to drive fast. It doesn't scare you at all. In dynamic mode, it feels quite stiff. So while the ride gets busy on a poor surface, it's never really uncomfortable. But you do have to watch out for the big bumps and potholes. Also, the ground clearance hasn't been altered for India, so going over sharp speed breakers requires some careful attention. But as a result, body roll is negligible and it makes the S5 feel like a tight unit that wraps nicely around the driver. In comfort mode, the ride gets more plush, and in town, this is the best mode to leave the car in. And like I mentioned, the suspension can be optioned with adaptive dampers, but the car we are driving today doesn't have that. So in individual mode settings, you can alter the exhaust note and steering feel, but not the suspension. So the S5 Sportback is a very friendly and yet very capable car. In fact, it's a perfect option for someone looking for an approachable vehicle to upgrade from a regular sedan to a slightly more performance-oriented sedan. In fact, it's quite practical too, so you can carry 465 liters of luggage. You can also carry 4 adults in relative comfort over long distances. So there has to be a downside, right? And there is one downside, and it comes in the form of the competition. So the BMW M340i has been recently launched as well, and that undercuts this on price by a huge margin, and we'll come to that. And while I haven't driven the M340i, so I'm not in a position to do an actual comparison, but just looking at the spec sheet and the prices, there is a lot to be said there. So for example, dimensionally, that is a little narrow in terms of width, but it has a longer wheelbase. Also, that makes more power. So this making around 354 HP, that makes around 380 HP plus. And plus that gets a rear wheel bias. So somebody looking for a vehicle that is more oriented towards driving, that could be a better bet and a more exciting driver's car. And in terms of prices, this one comes in at around 92 lakh rupees on road Delhi, while that undercuts this by almost 17 to 18 lakhs where the on-road price is concerned. So that clearly seems like better value. However, objectively, the S5 Sportback makes a very good case for itself. It looks amazing, it's got great proportions, and it performs exquisitely well. So if you're looking for an upgrade, this might be a good option.